Thanks for coming to the wrap screening. And Jim, what were you looking for when you were casting Zoe's role?
Well, she was really about 10th on our list. You know, the others were all unavailable.
I know she was trying to get, yeah. And he told me that from the beginning.
Well, what we were looking for was you. I mean, everything that you brought to it. You know, the strength, the grace, the emotional power. You know, the intelligence. You know, the soulfulness. Everything that you brought to the character. That's what we were looking for.
And you made it seem just so light too. I remember the first time when I met him, he comes in, and I've been kidnapped in an office at Lightstorm, and I've been reading the script for 4 hours after I signed my life away.
Under lock and key.
Under lock and key, and then he comes in, and I meet him, and he's like, "Well, you want to go meet your character?" And I was just like, "Wow, I thought this was an audition." And then I went to his office, and there was a sculpture on his coffee table of Neytiri, and I just completely fell in love with her. And then I would ask questions, and I remember you and John would sometimes like pause and just study me, and I'm like,
well, she's not too hard to look at, you know. I mean, actually, if you remember the thing I said that, and you know, we hadn't obviously decided on you at that point, but we were certainly leaning that direction. We still had some audition work to do. But at the time I said, if you wind up playing this character, the big tragedy of it will be that the camera never actually sees you.
yeah.
That it will see the essence of, you know, the essence of you will be captured. And I was trying to explain, that was my cheesy segue into explaining how the
Which was
performance
good,
capture would.
and that formula thing about you want to go meet your character, like I knew that you know it was an auditioning process, but the fact that you said that, I just immediately like lifted all this pressure, going, okay, that means that I can maybe, if I look at it, if I take that approach and I feel this comfortable. And I remember always feeling comfortable, and I was nervous because I wasn't nervous. I'm like, I'm meeting James Cameron, and I'm watching this beautiful sculpture, and I just read a script that I don't know what a thanator is, but for some reason I'm not as nervous as I would have expected myself to be. And then he heard that my sister was waiting in the parking lot while I was reading for 4 hours, and when she came upstairs, and that's when they both went, "Oh my God, you guys look so Navi." It's like, and we had no idea what lingo they were talking about. So my sister had like long hair, and like, okay, I guess that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. At that point, you couldn't even spell thanator. Who knew you were going to be writing one?
I know. I was like, what's a thaner? A thani?
Did you have a good idea from the start what the process was going to be like?
To the best of my abilities, I didn't understand the technology as well in the beginning, so.
Did we show you that film of the test that we did with the other actors, so you could see how like the marker dots and everything worked? I can't remember if we did or not. The split screen test.
Yes, you did. You did, and then you showed me like pictures, and there was like something that you guys had done where I put on the 3D glasses, and I was able to see sort of like some test things that you guys had done to show Fox
early test footage, right?
And it just completely blew me away, and I knew that I was gonna, if I was chosen for the part, that I was gonna understand as I went along. And because I didn't want to take any chances, I'm like, because I don't understand this or whatever, I'm just gonna do everything. I'm gonna train like every day until my lungs bleed, or until he tells me to stop, or until I just go, I can't really, this really hurts. Exactly, that was it. You were like, okay. And then hopefully I'll be able to utilize at least 40% of everything that I've learned, and it kind of worked.
Well, no, I think, as I recall, we had a conversation early on, and you obviously, because of your classical ballet training, had the graceful movement. But the question was, what about the strength in the legs to be able to do the jumps and hold hold those strong poses with the bow and all that sort of thing. So then it was leg training, quad training, how to, you know, because
a lot of crawling and everything,
and the movement stuff with Terry Notary too,
which was I mean, it was key to sort of get the body in synchronicity to whatever was going on, you know, here.
So you could express what you were seeing in your head.
But I think all those months of like, okay, like if I was living in a planet like this, and I'm supposed to be a warrior and a hunter, then I guess I have to start automatically, like, naturally thinking like one, and you can only achieve that by just training.
Yeah, but see, you have this well of ferocity deep inside. I mean, she seems really nice right now, but you do not want to get on her bad side. And when in the first audition, you know, I was just sort of encouraging you to get sort of more in touch with an animal side, and there was one where you just turned and just hissed, just like like that. And I went,
That's when
check
you got
that
the
out.
camera.
Yeah,
You were
right,
just
right.
like,
Yeah.
all right, do that again. We were both like,
Remember the audition? I had just broken my foot that day, and I'm hopping, you know, so the camera moves are kind of like this.
well,
you
and
know?
then add the fact that, remember, there was like a wheelchair, and Josh, you know, because I
flip
kept
me
crawling,
on my-
you were like, I don't want you to change anything. I'm gonna follow you, so we're not even here. So do whatever you would do and use this space and whatever. And he sat on a wheelchair, and he has a camera on, and his AD Josh was sort of like wheeling him and directing him as I'm doing. I'm like, all right, you're not here then. But I would go sometimes really fast, and they couldn't keep up, and they would fall.
Josh flipped me on my back, and I got a
and
big cut on my head.
that camera
The camera
landed
went bam!
right on you. Then he gets up, but it's like Rambo. Like there's like blood, and I'm like, sir, you're kind of. Let the scenes keep going. I'm like, oh Jesus, what am I getting myself into right now?
That's accurate.
So it's like you have a
That's right.
cast, you're bleeding, but you didn't drop the
Yeah,
camera.
yeah, and this was
they
still
both
re-
went for the camera, like the camera.
This was still rehearsal.
And
I think
you
what the
kept
shooting's going to
falling
be like.
every 3 minutes.
Josh
and I'm
dropped
like,
me twice. I thought, all right, that's never going to happen again, right? Because now they know, you know, they know that you get overbalanced backwards, so they're not going to do that again. The second time was the one where I got the cut.
yes, and I was just like
What?
heart pounding, going like, I kind of want my mommy right now. But
Nate
it was
Thierry doesn't want her mommy. Okay?
at all. But the stakes there, man. I knew the energy and what we were all gonna be like little soldiers. That's why I've always said this, like, to work around you, you create these little Terminators, and you just like, we will not stop.
That's right.
And it's that thing that go home. Well, what about this scene? I just want to like at least
I
talk
couldn't
about
get
like
these guys to leave at the end of the day. It was a crack up. It was like, no, we're done. We're done.
lunchtime. We would like take our sandwiches and like be in his room like, Jim, are you editing? He's like, oh sure, come in. We just like sit down with our sandwiches and just like see. He's like, but I showed you this yesterday. Okay, can I see it again? And he would just, of course, and crank up the volume. And sometimes they would have to kick us out of the editing room because all three of us, Sam,
Yeah.
Jim, and I, would just be there, just watching the scenes and talking. But it was also what it would inspire us to do. After watching a scene, immediately there was like an hour-long conversation about the study of the psychology of how these creatures and these humans are operating given this circumstance and this environment and all these things. So by the time we would go back to set, pushed by John Landau, the producer, and like the AD, like, go back to set, we would get there and we would be there. It was just, if it wasn't for those extensive conversations, I don't think we could have brought this to life because there was nothing there.
We lived it, ate it, breathed it for so long. And there was
Months.
actually a moment where Zoe was done shooting her part of the scene, and you didn't want to disconnect from doing the scene. It was such an emotional scene. So she actually just changed the little Velcro label and turned herself into another character, one of the other Na'vi women, and went into the crowd and
Oh my
started
God,
and
yeah.
started acting as another Na'vi character within the crowd. And that's the beauty of it, is you could actually just switch bodies or switch characters very quickly.
And it was just so much fun, and everything was just so inspiring.
Do you remember doing that, where you actually just went and became another
think I
another
did.
Na'vi character? The scene where they were all kind of praying and kind of hugging each other and
Yeah.
everything, and you wanted to kind of inspire the group of our troupe actors around you. And I thought that was great.
That was the part that was the most amazing for Sam and I, because we were so consistently there all the time. It was so real to us that even when you would have actors come in, either that were playing different other Na'vis or whatever, and because they were missing all this time that we had spent, creating this and believing in this, it was lending that hand of
pump 'em up.
yeah, don't worry, we'll jump. I think I do remember that. We'll jump in and we'll establish that tone, and immediately people, and like Jim would just bring more pictures and post them on the walls, like, this is what it would look like, this is what it sounds like, and it was just like, and to see these dancers.
Remember when the Leonoptrics landed, and there was no Leonoptrics, there was like nothing there for people to visualize.
But an
So we
orange ball,
started,
remember?
We had like a tennis ball. I thought, no, that's not making it. So then we got a thing, and then pretty soon it needed to have a head, so we put a pipe on it, and then pretty soon we had over the course of about 3
Recreated.
hours, we built a Leonopteryx.
A Lego
and
kind
had
of.
guys moving it, and you know,
And
big
people
sound
were
and
there, so you saw the ascension, right, of the mood, where when it was just like something that no matter how much we would describe it and we show pictures, but half of the crowd was sort of like unable to visualize it. The moment he just grabbed everything, like anything that he could create, and sound and impacting sound. By the time we actually started shooting those scenes, they were there. People were falling. People were like, it's like imagine this and imagine that, and we were just like, I mean, I know I'm wrapped, but why would I go home right now? I can't go home right now. I'm gonna drive my family crazy if I get home with this energy. And it was like that, it was so amazing.
This is one of those editing room moments.